for all the mystique surrounding Nintendo's policies, involving not only DNX. It seems as though Nintendo has been a bit inconsistent when it comes to figuring out the release date of Zelda Wii U. Nevertheless, unveiled information just might have revealed the reasoning why. Recently, to the distress of many, Nintendo announced that Zelda Wii U will be delayed to 2017 to launch alongside with the NX. On a side note, when I first heard about this, the internet exploded. Twitter was in a frenzy, I got a bunch of messages. You would have thought it was the apocalypse or something. Additionally, Nintendo also announced that they will not host a digital event, but rather a Treehouse livestream in which Zelda Wii U will be the main focus. On top of that, Zelda Wii U, very briefly, was slated for a March 2017 release. Now the title just has a generic 2017 launch window, which can mean anything. Who knows, maybe Nintendo delayed it all the way to November of 2017. So yeah, those announcements rose a lot of questions to say the least. However, can these actions be analyzed? Well, in order to properly convey these recent announcements, let's go back to the beginning. Many have compared the development of Zelda Wii U to that of Twilight Princess, mainly due to both of them being launched in a similar manner, with Twilight Princess a GameCube title launched with the Wii, and Zelda Wii U a Wii U game releasing with the NX. However, can we dig up any more information from this? In the October of 2008, an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto revealed unique insights regarding Twilight Princess. He stated that, "I've been saying to our development teams recently is that Twilight Princess was not a bad game by any means, but still it felt like there was something missing." Generally speaking, Miyamoto was not really all that fond of Twilight Princess. So formatively speaking, what exactly occurred during the development of the title to cause this reaction? Well, let's go back to 2003. Nintendo of America suggested to IG Aonuma to create a Zelda title with realistic graphics to generate sales and appeal to Western markets. And within the initial stages of development, Aonuma became the producer of the project, though later on he would gain a director's position. Aonuma has stated that he never expected the development of Twilight Princess to grow so large. In fact, many in his team never actually worked on a Zelda game before, and it was due to this that motivated them to create the biggest game in the series so far. However, Aonuma was a bit distraught. He stated himself that the development of the game was getting out of hand. When speaking about this very topic, Aonuma stated that, when something has developed naturally to that size, it becomes somewhat difficult to apply the brakes. Additionally, Miyamoto also explained that during the development of Twilight Princess, that many of the younger staff members were doing sloppy work due to the heavy workload they were expected to accomplish. And here is where things get really interesting. During the end of the development of Twilight Princess, Miyamoto offered an idea to Aonuma to move the game to the new Nintendo Wii rather than the GameCube. Aonuma's initial response was that fans would be angry that the game won't be released on the original platform. This debate would be ended by then President Satoru Iwata, who decided the best course of action was to release the game on both consoles. President Iwata explained that this event was the first time that he had to delay a game by a year, since he wanted Twilight Princess to be the best Zelda game. In terms of art direction, Twilight Princess at the time utilized more artwork than any other Nintendo game that came prior. In fact, Nintendo actually had to recruit outside designers to help out. At one point, there were so many artists that it became unclear if the main art style of the project could become consistent. Twilight Princess is the best-selling Zelda game if you include both Wii and GameCube sales. However, the project became too big for its own good. Nintendo wanted the game to be successful, which created a massive development team to cater towards that end. However, this became detrimental at times, which is indicated by comments from both Miyamoto and Aonuma. Eventually, the game was delayed not so much to accommodate towards a dual release on both the GameCube and the Wii, but rather to cool down on the overbloated development process. There may be some similarities between the development of both Twilight Princess and Zelda Wii U. However, we will leave that analysis towards the end of this video. There is another Zelda game that may provide some insight to Zelda Wii U, Skyward Sword. Nintendo spent 5 years making this project. However, it spent 2 of those years in experimentation. In 2011, Shigeru Miyamoto had this to say concerning this time period. When you have a development period of 5 years, It's often the case that around 2 of those years wind up being completely wasted effort. With this game though, I think all the work that everyone put into this project gets fully seen in the final product. Additionally, as is the case in Skyward Sword, Miyamoto focused primarily on the core gameplay mechanics of the project. Everything else formed around it. What is particularly interesting about this title is its philosophical foundation. Skyward Sword in many ways marked the change in which Miyamoto and Aonuma wanted to alter the formula of the Zelda series. This alteration fostered an ambition within Aonuma. During an interview regarding Skyward Sword, Aonuma stated that the basic flow of the Zelda games is you're exploring a field, you go to a dungeon, you conquer it, and return to the field. We're looking at altering that traditional flow. Moreover, compared to the development of Twilight Princess, the development of Skyward Sword was rather streamlined. Perhaps it was due to Twilight Princess's overbloated development team that motivated both Miyamoto and Aonuma to re-evaluate the entire Zelda formula. When speaking about this very issue, Aonuma stated that, "I think we were able to keep such a big project together because the game world this time is structurally simple." As stated previously, Skyward Sword marked the beginning of thoughts in both Miyamoto and Aonuma to alter the Zelda formula. Perhaps what triggered this response was the development process of Twilight Princess. Whatever the case may be, what epitomized this notion of this change came in the form of Aonuma's interview with The Guardian. Zelda is not really a genre in itself, but it should never limit itself to one genre. With Zelda, we're always trying to do something unique. I think this, and the fact that we continue to push ourselves to come up with new ideas for each title, has kept the series fresh over the years. Skyward Sword saw its release in 2011, during Zelda's 25th anniversary. So how does this relate to the grand schemes of Zelda Wii U? Well, Skyward Sword marked a change in character to the Zelda series. You can say the philosophical roots of the project led to the development of future titles, most notably Link Between Worlds, in which that game took a very unorthodox approach to the Zelda formula. This tactic to alter Zelda conventions may have strived to blaze new trails while keeping true to past projects. To meet this end, between 2013 to 2016, there have been several Zelda remakes between Wind Waker HD, Majora's Mask 3D, and Twilight Princess HD, all of which have been noted by Aonuma to drive inspiration for a new project, Zelda Wii U. And this is where we come full circle. Prior to the release of Wind Waker HD, Aonuma urged that future Zelda projects would take an unorthodox approach. Same can be said on his thoughts when Majora's Mask 3D was released. IG Aonuma worked on multiple Zelda games alongside Zelda Wii U. These projects may have had an impact on its development. Heck, titles Aonuma hasn't had a direct oversight on has influenced him to a certain degree. The best case for this is Hyrule Warriors, in which IG Aonuma was surprised on the level of detail on its cutscenes and the amount of playable characters. This may or may not have been direct influence. I leave you, the viewer, to decide. But in Hyrule Warriors, enemies typically have a life bar sitting right above their heads, and within gameplay footage of Zelda Wii U, we see a similar function. Is this an example of direct influence? I'll leave you to decide. Moving on, the Twilight Princess HD remake should come of particular importance. I remember back in 2013, Aonuma stated himself that a Twilight Princess remake might happen if another studio picks it up. This may have led the developer known as Tantalus to handle the development of TPHD. Nonetheless, this remake holds special importance to Aonuma. In previous developer diaries, Aonuma has stated that Zelda Wii U will do things that he couldn't have done in Twilight Princess, and that both games share a special connection of some kind. Now, this can mean many things. Perhaps both games will share things plot-wise, but for now, it is safe to say that Twilight Princess, like other Zelda games, will inspire some elements within Zelda Wii U. Now that we have discussed events that came before, what can we say about Zelda Wii U in light of recent news? Well, during the development of Twilight Princess, what was once a focused development team became a bit over-bloated. In hindsight, both Miyamoto and Aonuma did not look all that fondly at Twilight Princess, which perhaps caused them to reevaluate the direction of the entire Zelda series. During the development of Skyward Sword, both individuals came up with a unique idea to alter the conventions of the Zelda formula. Zelda Wii U likely began development after Skyward Sword, so in other words, this project inherited this philosophy of challenging Zelda conventions. Prior to the E3 2014 reveal, the Zelda Wii U was developed alongside Link Between Worlds, Wind Waker HD, Hyrule Warriors, and Majora's Mask 3D. which is nothing short than a massive workload. In hindsight, a delay to Zelda Wii U became inevitable due to this. The development of Twilight Princess may have lost focus due to its sheer size of its team. Perhaps the development of Zelda Wii U is seeing something similar. For example, Nintendo has a track record of using assets found in previous games to use in new projects. However, Zelda Wii U seems to have been built from the ground up. Ultimately, I could only guess these things and theorize, but perhaps the sheer cost of Zelda Wii U's development has placed a certain strain on Nintendo. Now, I wasn't able to find any reliable sources to find out the exact development costs of Zelda games. If anyone can find one, that would be awesome. However, I don't find it likely that games like Twilight Princess are cheap to make. With that being said, Zelda Wii U seems to be like a hefty project, and perhaps there are some financial costs due to it. There is a theory that a reason why Nintendo has released so many Zelda remakes in between Zelda Wii U's release isn't just because to help the Zelda team to gain inspiration, but perhaps they released all these remakes to help pick up the costs that the development of Zelda Wii U made. This is just a theory, however, I would take it with a grain of salt. Moving on. In E3 2014, Zelda Wii U was officially revealed to the applause of many, and later in the Game Awards, more footage was seen. However, on March 27, 2015, Aonuma announced that Zelda Wii U was to be delayed. Additionally, the project would not see an appearance at E3 2015. This took many by shock. What puzzled people even more is that Reggie Fils-Aimé stated that Zelda Wii U footage was available to be showcased at E3 2015, but Nintendo decided not to show it. Now, what was the logic behind this move? Before I move on, the theories that will be mentioned shortly are not facts, so take my words into question. Nintendo's approach to E3 events have been rather questionable. One of the strongest arguments I am hearing is that Nintendo simply does not like E3 events. More often than not, Nintendo gets negative responses from their E3 events. It is only rarely that Nintendo generates positive reactions from E3. In short, it seems as though Nintendo simply does not want to be compared to the likes of Sony or Microsoft. Nintendo's latest console, the NX, must also be mentioned. Recently, President Kimishima has stated that the reason behind the NX being released in 2017, as opposed to 2016, is because he wants the NX to have a strong launch, with many enthralling launch titles. Perhaps President Kimishima is taking a note from his predecessor, President Iwata. Remember, Iwata delayed Twilight Princess to have a dual launch between both the GameCube and the Wii. Perhaps President Kimishima is following suit. However, this doesn't necessarily explain why Zelda Wii U has such an information blackout. We have covered financial costs that may be associated with the development of Zelda Wii U. But if the project is so expensive, then why not show it off to generate attention? Or what about Zelda Wii U being developed alongside multiple Zelda games? Why hasn't more information about Zelda Wii U been disclosed? Especially when we had 3 Zelda games being not only revealed but released between its development. Following this train of thought, there is a possible explanation, but again, it is just merely a theory. Feel free to take my considerations into question. Perhaps Zelda Wii U's development is seeing similar problems found during the development of Twilight Princess, but in reverse. Nintendo of America suggested to Eiji Aonuma to create a Zelda title to appeal to Western markets. Aonuma has stated that he never expected the development of Twilight Princess to grow so large. He further explained that the development of the game was getting out of hand. Even Miyamoto wasn't exactly thrilled about the development process. It can be theorized that both Aonuma's and Miyamoto's distraught concerning Twilight Princess motivated them to reevaluate the Zelda franchise, which culminated in future titles, leading up to eventually Zelda Wii U. The case with Zelda Wii U is this. In 2013, Eiji Aonuma stated that Zelda Wii U would challenge the series conventions, and this is where the reverse argument comes into play. Whereas Twilight Princess was initially suggested by Nintendo of America to appeal to Western markets, which in itself was externally motivated, Zelda Wii U was suggested internally by the ideals that both Miyamoto and Aonuma championed. However, there is a degree to which Zelda Wii U is also trying to appeal to Western markets. In a recent interview, Aonuma himself alluded that Zelda Wii U would draw some Western elements. Is this an attempt to generate the financial success that Twilight Princess generated, or are there other motives? What exactly he meant by this is yet to be seen. Back to Twilight Princess. Later on in its development, a question rose on whether or not the project should be on the Wii. Miyamoto argued that the game should be released with the Wii's launch, while Aonuma wanted to stick with the GameCube release. Both of these viewpoints would be mediated by then-President Satoru Iwata to have Twilight Princess to be released on both consoles, and to have the game to be delayed for a year as a result. Aonuma would later explain that he was glad that the game was delayed, as he had still had much to work with the project. Fast forward to Zelda Wii U's case. Originally the game was slotted for a 2015 release, but was pushed back to a 2016 date. Now, we don't have solid information on what exactly caused this, but we can make some educated guesses. Remember how Twilight Princess at the time involved much more artwork than any other previous Nintendo game? Well, Zelda Wii U seems to be capable of surpassing even that workload, combining the development of a brand new or modified engine with a heavy workload on art style, along with developing multiple other games, not to mention the gameplay mechanics of the title, and of course many other factors. It is of little wonder why Zelda Wii U was delayed in terms of its own developmental ambitions. However, the biggest possible indicator of why Zelda Wii U is facing an information blackout is perhaps due to the NX. Analogously speaking to Twilight Princess once more, when Nintendo revealed information about the Wii version of the game, it included the motion controls, which revealed what the Wii is about in terms of its functions. Think about it. If Nintendo revealed Twilight Princess's motion controls on the Wii version, then consumers will know how the Wii actually works, at least in terms of gameplay functions. Furthermore, if consumers looked at the Wii version of the game, they would know how the Wii functions in terms of motion controls. The case with Zelda Wii U may very well be something similar, that the NX version of Zelda Wii U may be using the extra development time to utilize the NX, whatever it might be. So in short, the best explanation I can give on why Nintendo delayed Zelda Wii U to 2017 is the development of the game is likely utilizing something that, when showed off, may indicate something about the NX. That if Nintendo showed off certain elements of Zelda Wii U, then consumers could identify how the NX may function in terms of gameplay. And obviously Nintendo wants to keep that quiet for now. Or there may be other reasons, or something unforeseeable occurred. Or maybe it was a combination of all these factors that contributed towards delays for Zelda Wii U. If you have any ideas on the subject, then comment below. Would love to hear them. And wow, this video turned out a lot longer than I thought it would be. But anyways, what about the concept art of Zelda Wii U? The Sheikah book, or the potential plot of the game? Well, I'll save that for another video. Perhaps a Zelda theory. But we are in exciting times. E3 2016 is just around the corner. We will probably finally get a name for the game. And of course, we will see what the title is all about. And you know this channel will cover it all in depth. However, there is one last thing I would like to cover. Nintendo does have a habit of reusing assets found in previous games to newer ones. Zelda Wii U, in terms of its general aesthetic, will probably not be limited to just that project. In other words, there is a strong possibility that the assets found within Zelda Wii U will be reused in another Zelda game. Perhaps a Zelda game built primarily for the NX. And since the Zelda team is notorious for developing multiple games at once, them developing another Zelda game is likely. So for all the mystique surrounding Zelda Wii U, involving not only the NX, it seems as though the project, regardless of direction, is being made with great care and thought. Nevertheless, unveiled information at E3 2016 will hopefully tell us more about the title. However, there is another tale out there that may make an appearance on Nintendo's latest console, Metroid NX. But that is a tale that will be told next time. Thanks for watching Back at Making Videos. Also, Macintyre Productions is on Patreon. We assembled a team to produce videos at a faster rate than before. We would like to upload multiple times a week, but we do need support. If you fancy us, then become a patron. I promise you it will not go to waste. Also, we will make a video on the story of Zelda Wii U as a Zelda theory as soon as we are done with the one we're working on now. And I will be back to making Metroid news. I will talk about Federation Force and the possible Metroid NX. And of course, we'll talk about the NX, the console, and everything we know about that. We also have other stuff in development, but we'll talk about that later. More information is in our Patreon page if you are curious about our future plans, that is. Anyways, I hope you all the absolute best. Take care, and see you around.